Hello, my name is Mark Black. In this video, we're going to look at deploying IBM Spectrum LSF Suite 10.2 Community Edition in IBM Cloud Private 2.1. What are we going to cover? We'll start off by looking at what is LSF Suite Community Edition 10.2. We'll look at the steps necessary to prepare the environment to run LSF Suite Community Edition. We'll then deploy LSF Suite. We'll then log into the Application Center, run a sample job, and have a conclusion. So first of all, what is IBM Spectrum LSF Suite Community Edition 10.2? Well, it's winner of the HPC Wire 2007 Editor's Choice Awards for Best HPC Cluster Solution or Technology. So it's not just me thinking that this is pretty cool stuff. So here's a quick pop quiz. What do we mean by HPC? Right? Well, we actually mean things like animation, rendering, structural mechanics, crash testing, genomics, personalized medicine, chemical engineering, all these many different things, right? They're all computationally intensive and they require a lot of compute power in order to compute their results. So this is what we mean by HPC workloads. And we see that IBM Spectrum LSF Suite is a really cool tool for running these types of workloads. It helps accelerate the workloads by utilizing your environment to its fullest capability, and that increases, of course, your productivity, and it provides a simplified management experience so that you can manage a large cluster quite easily. So what do you have? Well, we're looking at this edition here, the Community Edition of LSF Suite. There are other editions available. The Community Edition is the free edition, so it has certain restrictions on it. You can have up to 10 servers and 2,500 jobs. If you jump to the Enterprise Edition, well, it just becomes unlimited. You also get additional features like the data manager for moving your data around prior to and after jobs have completed, the license scheduler for making sure that those very expensive licenses are fully utilized, the process manager for sequencing your workloads and making sure that everything runs at the correct time, as well as other things like Explorer and various analytics and session scheduling. Okay, so that's Community Edition and where it fits within the LSF Suite offering structure. So let's talk about the preparation to deploy LSF Suite on our IBM Cloud Private environment. So there are two things that we have to do. One, we have to label the candidate machines. So that means we're dropping down to the command line and running a few commands. The other thing that we need to do is prepare the storage. We need at least one persistent volume per cluster that we're going to deploy. We'll also optionally need two persistent volume claims, one for applications, so this would hold all of our application binaries, for example, and another for any data that we want to be able to process within those clusters that we're going to deploy. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to my live environment and I'm going to perform the following steps. I'm going to label my physical machines so they're ready to go. I'm then going to set up a persistent volume. This is going to be used to hold the configuration for the cluster. Then I'm going to set up two other persistent volume claims, one for the data storage and another for applications. Okay, so this is my live environment. So I have IBM Cloud Private already deployed and running, and I'm just going to log in as the admin. Essentially what I'm doing here is I'm just getting my environment variables so that I can run various commands. So I can go here, and if I click on admin, there's an option to configure client. So I click on that, and I want to get all of these various commands to run so that I can run the CLI. So I just copy them, and I'm going to paste them into my window over here and run those. Okay, let me get rid of that. Okay, so I've pasted those commands into my window here, and my environment's ready. So I can do, let's get a list of the machines first. And so I run kube control get nodes, and then dash dash show labels. So you can see I have two machines, and what I want to do is label them with a label, this label here, deploy LSF equals true. I'll do that on both machines. My machines are actually already labeled, so I get this warning message, but I would do this for each machine. So I'll go in here and change that to 45. Okay, so we've labeled the machines, and now we're ready to configure the persistent volumes. We need a minimum of 1 for the configuration, and optionally we need 2 more for data and the application binaries. So I have an NFS directory set, or NFS server already. I'm actually in the NFS directory right now. Let me just show you that. So this is my NFS server IP address, and this is the exported file system. We're going to need that information in a couple of minutes. So in here, I'm going to make the directories that I'm going to use as the persistent volumes. So make dir ICP, we'll call this my PV. So we'll use this one for the configuration, and I'll make another one for data, and one more for my apps. Okay, I actually have a small app. I'm just going to copy into the apps directory while I'm here. Copy my job to, oops. Okay, and we'll use that later. Okay, so they're created. Now I want to go back into the GUI and create the persistent volumes and persistent volume claims that are associated with these. Okay, so let's go to the storage. Oops, wrong one. So I need to create a persistent volume. So this will be my vol 01. We'll say it's 10 gigabytes. And this is for configuration. So we'll need read-write access to this. And let's recycle it. I need some additional parameters. So I need the server IP address and the export file system. So we have server, and it was /vms/export/ ICP my PV. Let me just verify that. ICP my PV, yep. And we need to add in the, oops, I've done that wrong. This is the IP address, sorry. 10. I'm getting ahead of myself. Here we specify the path. /vms export ICP my PV. Okay, let's create that. Okay, so this is the persistent volume that we'll use for the configuration. That piece is done. We don't need to do any more there. I'm going to create now the persistent volume for both the data and for the applications. So let me do that. We'll call this my data PV, and we'll say it's 10 gigabytes. You know, this is my data PV, so I don't want people writing in here, at least not within the containers. So essentially I want to use this as a basically with read-only access. And we'll retain, and I still need to provide the parameters. So we still have server, that's the IP address. And I need the path. And that was VMs export and ICP and data. I think I was doing the data one. Yes. Oh, the other thing I need to do is I need to provide a label. This is so we can associate the persistent volume with the persistent volume claim. So we'll say is data, and we'll say true. Okay, let's create that. So that's my data persistent volume. Now I want to create one for the application binaries. My apps, PV, and 10 gigabytes. We'll say read only again, and parameters, server, .71. I need to add the path. Export /p/apps. And again, I need to label it. We'll say is apps, and that's true. Okay, so that's my persistent volumes created. Now for the application binary directory and the data directory, I need to take an additional step and create the persistent volume claims. So let's do that right now. And we'll create the persistent volume claim. And this will be my data PVC. I'll say 1, and again, read only is data, and that should be true. I get everything, yep. And we'll create that. And I need one more for the application binaries. My apps PVC. Read only, and is apps, and that is true. Okay, so that's the persistent volume claims set up. Now we're ready to go to the next step. Okay, we've met the prerequisites, and now we want to look at deploying IBM Spectrum LSF Suite Community Edition 10.2. Okay, so we'll go to the live environment, and I'll show you the Helm chart that you're going to deploy to create your LSF cluster, and then we'll go and configure it and deploy it. Let's do that right now. So we go to the catalog, Helm charts, and we're looking for the LSF one. I've filtered already. Well, I've removed the repository, so I only get one. In your case, you can just type in LSF and filter on that. And you'll come up with this particular Helm chart, the IBM LSF CE Dev. This is the one you're interested in, and this will give you more information about it. Talk about the prerequisites that we already covered, and at the bottom there's a configure button. Let's click on that. So now we need to give it some information. We scroll to the top. So of course you have to give it a name. My LSF cluster. And we'll select the namespace. So I'm going to use default. You can, of course, you need to take a look at the license agreements and accept those. And so here we're specifying the size of the cluster. So these are the worker nodes. Default is 1. You can have up to 9 of these, so for a total of 10 machines in your cluster. I'm going to have, say, 2 of those. And ideally, I want to have a little bit more CPU resources and more memory resources. Ideally, what you would want to do is give your LSF cluster the entire machine. That way, the resource manager within LSF, LSF itself is a resource manager. It would be able to manage those resources better and use them for running your workloads. Okay, on the storage side, we need to do a couple of things here. So we created a data PVC already, so we want to use that. So we'll change that to true. And we want our app one as well. I think I called it apps PVC. No, we'll find out. On the master, yeah, let's give it a bit more resources as well. Hopefully I've got enough for this. And everything else should be okay. Click install. Let's view our release. Here's my LSF cluster. Get some more details. Okay, so I have the master node and 2 worker nodes. They're coming up. And what I'm looking for is, okay, so there's some information. Here's my cluster IP, and there's the port number that I'm looking for. So I'm going to use that to connect to the GUI. Okay, so I actually had to redeploy. I did have a typo in one of the storage names. So I've redeployed and I've got a different port number. So let's go and log into the GUI. I just need to go back here. We go here. And I've got the port number. And the default user is, LSF admin. Oops. And the default password is LSF admin. Sure. Okay. There I'm in. I actually had tested and ran a job here already. So let's go and run a simple job. So this is a generic form. We're just going to run sleep. My job. And that's it. There we go. We have our running job. So there's more videos that you can look at to explain how to use the application center. I'll not cover that here. Just some other things to show you. Let me actually go and log into one of the containers, and we'll take a look at what happened with the storage. So let me see. Kube control get pod. Okay, so we want to connect to my pod. That's here. So we're going to use kube control exec, and I'm going to connect to the the first pod, and we're going to run bash. Okay, I'm there. This is my file system for my container, and here we go. Here's our 3 excuse me, our 3 file systems. We have the data one, the app one, and our config one. Let me become the LSF administrator, and we'll submit a job manually. And I'll show you what that looks like. Oops, dash. And I need to source the environment. LSF suite. I should fix this. Conv. So I've sourced the environment. Now I should be able to run some commands. Yep. Where am I at? So let's run our little my little job. Sub my job 10-m. So this is just a simple little job simulator, and It just consumes memory and CPU for a given length of time. So we can take a look at what's going on there. Not yet. You can see it's been running for 15 seconds. And if we go back to the GUI, we should see it in the GUI. Let me just show you that. And as you can see, I've been playing around a lot. There's my job 108 there. I can get some more information about it. Okay. So it looks like our cluster is running okay. So you've seen the UI, and we've run our simple job. You can get more information by going to YouTube and searching for LSF Suite 10.2. There's an entire channel there. And some of the latter videos in that series cover the application center, the installation. What you're actually interested in is there's a walkthrough of the application center, and that video will cover that. And there's lots of other useful information there as well. So conclusion. So in conclusion, you've seen how to prepare the machines for running the LSF cluster. You've seen how to prepare the various storage volumes. You've seen how to deploy LSF Suite Community Edition from your IBM Cloud Private UI. You've seen how to verify that your cluster is functioning, and you've also seen where to get more information. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed that.